Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're doing what we do best, peeling back the layers of something you think is familiar, something you see everywhere, until we had a foundation that, well, it might just change how you see things.
It's a perfect topic for that. We're looking at how traditions are all connected. We have this great stack of sources you've sent in, and they all make this pretty bold claim.
A very bold claim. The claim is that a lot of our most common winter holiday customs, the decorated tree, the gift giver, even the timing, don't start where we think they do. They start thousands of years ago in Central Asia.
Exactly. We're talking about Nardugan Bayrama. It's a pre-Islamic ancient Turkish festival for the winter solstice. And the sources we have from respected researchers like Sumerologist Muazzez İlmiye Çığ argue it's basically the blueprint for what we do now.
So our mission today is to trace that blueprint. How did a life tree from a shamanistic worldview end up in our living rooms? And who was this figure that came before Santa Claus?
It all comes down to, these core human beliefs, things like the battle between light and darkness. When a ritual is that fundamental, it doesn't just vanish. It adapts. It gets woven into the next religion, the next culture. Nardugan is maybe the best case study for that process.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. The name itself, Nardugan. What does it actually mean?
Well, it's surprisingly direct. It literally translates to sunborn, or in Turkish, günidozin.
Sunborn. I mean, that tells you almost everything you need to know right there.
It really does. It frames the entire festival. This was a New Year celebration for ancient Turks and even the Sumerians, but it wasn't tied to a fixed calendar date. It was tied completely to the cosmos.
And the core of it, according to the sources, is this incredible cosmic drama, a constant war between night and day.
A war that reaches its absolute peak on one specific day, the longest night of the year.
December 21st, the winter solstice, when night is at its most powerful.
But Nardugan isn't about the darkness. It's about the victory that comes right after. Because on December 22nd, the sun starts to win again. The days finally start getting longer.
And that moment was celebrated as the Yeniden Dosus Bayrama, the Feast of Rebirth.
Exactly. It was this moment of pure joy, a promise that spring was coming back.
But there's a little nuance to the timing, isn't there? The New Year itself wasn't celebrated on the 22nd.
Right, that's a fascinating detail. The rebirth happens on the 22nd, but the official New Year, according to the old Turkish lunar calendar, was actually on the first full moon after the solstice. So you get the cosmic victory first, then the official party a few weeks later.
That really shows how locked in they were to celestial events. And this all comes from their religious beliefs, from the sun and moon cults of the Göktürk and Uyghur periods.
Absolutely. The sun and moon were, the ultimate sources of energy, of fertility, everything. We even see mentions of this tradition in the ancient Göktürk Orhun inscriptions. It's that old.
And it was widespread. The sources point out all the different names for it.
Because the Turkic peoples were so nomadic, the name changed a little from place to place. The Tatars called it Koyaş Tua.
Which also means sun is born.
Also means sun is born. The Chuvas called it Nartukan, Udmurts called it Ras Tua. But the core concept, that rebirth of the sun, it was universal for them.
Okay, so that's the when. Let's get into the how, because this is where the visuals start to look. Well, very familiar. We have to talk about the tree. The aksam.
The white pine or fir. And this wasn't just a tree, it was sacred. For the ancient Turks, the aksam was the Hayat Ataka, the life tree.
The center of the world. The axis mundi.
Precisely. It was a spiritual highway. Its roots went down into the underworld, and its branches reached all the way up to the sky, where the god Gök Tanrı Ülgen lived in his golden mansion. It was how you communicated with the divine.
And that symbol is so powerful, it still exists today.
It does.
Yeah.
If you look at traditional Anatolian rugs and kilims, you'll still see those stylized life tree motifs woven in. That ancient symbol of connection and abundance is, it's still right there.
So as the solstice got closer, how did they prepare for the celebration?
It was a whole process. People would clean their homes from top to bottom, get rid of everything from the old year. They'd wear their best, cleanest clothes. It was all about purification, about welcoming the new light.
And then they'd gather around the tallest aksam tree they could find.
And they would sing and dance. But the main event, the most important ritual, was decorating it.
But not just for decoration's sake, it was a wishing ceremony.
Exactly. This is the key link. Young women would make these little bands out of felt or animal hair, sometimes with life tree symbols on them. These ribbons were then handed out to everyone.
And people would tie them to the branches of the tree.
Yes, it was a physical act. You were literally sending your wishes, your prayers for the new year, right up the cosmic tree to the heavens.
And that specific tradition tying scraps of cloth to a sacred tree or a shrine, that's something you, our listener, can still see all over Anatolia today. It's a direct, unbroken line back to Nardugan.
An incredible continuity.
Which brings us to the man of the hour, the figure who lived at the top of that tree.
Ülgen. He's described as this long-bearded, long caftan protector of humanity, living up in the sky in his golden home.
The sources, especially researcher Zübeyir Batur, make a very strong claim here. They say Ülgen is the temelind, the absolute foundation for the Santa Claus legend.
And when you break it down, you can see why. You have a benevolent protector. He's associated with the snowy upper world. He has a long white beard and a cloak. And his job at the darkest time of year is to receive wishes that are placed on an evergreen tree. It starts to line up.
It really does. The sources also mention another figure, Ayaz Ada, who is linked to the Russian Dead Moroz or Father Frost. So this archetype was all over the region.
It seems like the idea of this spirit helper working through a cosmic tree at the solstice is an incredibly ancient and persistent template.
Okay, this is where the deep dive really pivots. The sources claim that these Nardugan customs didn't just stay in Central Asia, they moved west.
And directly influenced what would eventually become modern Christmas and New Year celebrations. The visual similarities are one thing, but the question is how? How did it travel?
The sources point to major migrations, specifically the Hun migration wave that started in the 3rd century.
You have to appreciate the scale of that. The Huns moved all the way from the Caucasus to the Atlantic. They came into contact with all these Germanic and Slavic tribes in Europe who were polytheistic at the time.
So the argument is that this was the delivery mechanism.
Yeah.
The Huns brought these shamanistic traditions, like venerating the evergreen tree, with them.
And introduced them into European folk culture.
Ah.
But the sources go even further. There's a very specific claim, particularly from Muazzez İlmiye Çığ, about how Christianity adopted these customs.
Right, and it's important we present this claim exactly as it's laid out in the sources.
Absolutely. The claim is that the Aksam tree tradition was formally incorporated into Christian celebrations at the First Ecumenical Council.
The Council of Nicaea in 325 CE.
Yes, and the evidence they cite is, well, it's botanical. They argue that pine and fir trees don't naturally grow in the Holy Land where Jesus lived. So the custom of decorating an evergreen must have been adopted from an outside culture where that tree was already sacred.
Like Anatolia, where the council was actually held.
Precisely. And this also helps explain the date, December 25th. We know Jesus was likely born in the autumn.
So why choose a date so close to the solstice?
It was a strategic move. By setting the birth of Christ on December 25th, the Church essentially co-opted the existing and very popular Sun's birth, holiday Nardugan, and gave it a new Christian meaning. It's how you absorb a powerful pagan tradition.
Which brings us to today. Christmas, for many, has become very secular. It's about trees and gifts.
It's almost gone back to its folk roots. And you see this conflation with New Year's, especially in Muslim countries. People decorate trees or have a big turkey dinner on December 31st. It's not religious. It's a secular celebration to mark the end of the old year and the start of the new.
Which, ironically, looked almost identical to the original purpose of Nardugan's Feast of Rebirth. It's like it skipped the religious step and went right back to celebrating the solar cycle.
That's the main idea here, this incredible cultural persistence. These ancient beliefs about the life tree and the cycle of the seasons, they never really went away in Anatolia. They just, operated in the background.
Until recently. Because in the last decade or so, Nardugan has come roaring back.
It has. Since around 2010, there's been a public revival of the festival in the Gundogan district of Bodrum.
And this is the perfect little aha moment. The name of the town, Gundogan, it literally means sun is born.
It's the perfect alignment. The town named Sun is Born is celebrating the Sunborn Festival.
So what does this modern revival look like?
It's beautiful. They light huge bonfires. There are regional folk songs and dances. And most importantly, they've brought back the wish tradition.
They bring in a big Aksam tree.
They do. And they invite everyone, especially women, in these amazing colorful clothes to cut pieces of cloth and tie their wishes for the new year onto its branches. It's a conscious, deliberate reclaiming of that ancient heritage.
Wow. So it's not just a memory, it's a living tradition again.
Exactly. And it just proves how powerful these fundamental rituals are. The need to celebrate light triumphing over darkness, the desire for renewal, that belief transcends everything. Time, religion, politics. It just endures.
So we've taken a pretty deep dive here. From the cosmic battle of the solstice to the community around the Aksam tree, we've traced this incredible tradition of Nardugan. And the sources you shared with us suggest that so many of the symbols we just take for granted, Santa's beard, the tree in the corner, they might carry the DNA of this ancient sunborn festival.
It really shows how these core human ideas get passed on. They just adapt, put on new clothes for new culture, but their function stays the same.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you. If something as simple as decorating a tree in winter is part of a thousand-year-old ritual celebrating the return of the sun, what other powerful ancient mythologies are you still participating in every day without even knowing it? That's something to explore on your own.
A great question to end on. Thanks again for sharing the source material for this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.